Hi everyone, and welcome to session number 5 of Manual Testing Project. As usual, if there are any questions you want to ask during the session, please use the Q&A section, and also I've given a link of the Facebook group. In case if you are not already in the group, then please join our group so that you are updated with all the upcoming trainings. Also, I have also mentioned my YouTube channel as well, where all these recordings of sessions will be uploaded. Right, okay, so far we have covered 4 modules. In last module, we covered test design. Today, we will be covering test execution and defect management. So without any further ado, what I will do, I will take you directly to JIRA instance, because that's where we will be doing the entire test execution and defect management as well. So I will share my other screen now. Okay, I am just sharing in a minute. Okay, so I hope that now you can see my JIRA instance. Right, if there's any issue, please do let me know. All right, so this is where we created our sprint, and in last sprint we went through the board as well, our sprint board. We also designed a test case against a user story. So today what I will do, I will show you how to execute the test case and how to report a bug. Okay, before we do that, just wanted to let you know that over here, if you see the sprint board, so this is our active sprint. So in progress means that it's still in development. And now you can see that one of the ticket is in test queue, in test column. This means that now this story is ready to test. When we are working on in an agile project, we do not need for all the stories to be deployed in test in order to start testing. And that's why it is agile, that you are getting smaller chunks of functionality being developed, and you need to keep on testing it, moving it to done, and then the next story is coming in and you can test it as well. So this is a story which is already being deployed to test environment. So when it is in test, it means it's ready to test. And what does that include? It includes that we spoke about the environments in the last session. So there are multiple environments. So when we are talking in progress, it means that it's still either in the developers are already working in their local environment, local machines, or they have deployed it to the dev environment. Now, when it's in test, it means that the build has been deployed to the test environment, and there are different ways to do that. We can do it manually, we can automate that process as well. And along with the build deployment, we also spoke about the databases as well. So there are different databases, a different database for development and a different database for test. So it means that whatever the changes in database has been done for the development database, those changes have also been updated to the test database as well. So now this story is in test, so we can start testing. So last session, we created one test case. I just added a couple of more test cases just to show you different scenarios. And let's just open this. Okay, I'll just go here. Okay, so now I have opened this user story, which is ready for testing. Over here, you can see the status that now it's in test. It's not in progress anymore, it's in test, and it has been assigned to Sabah. Sabah is our tester. So it has been assigned to her, which means that whoever is the assignee would get a notification, an email that you have been assigned a ticket. It means that you get a notification that yes, now this ticket is with you, you are the assignee, and you have to start working on it. I also want to show you the history as well. So if you want to see the history of that ticket, you can see all the details that when this issue was created, when it was changed, any change was done, when it was assigned to a sprint, then what was the story point estimate, and then how the status changed, like from to do, in progress, and then earlier it was assigned to Mike because Mike is the product owner, and then when the work started, then it was assigned to Sophie. Sophie is a developer because she was working, she was developing it, and once she has done the work, then the status has changed from in progress to test, and Sophie assigned this ticket to Sabah. So that's how it works. And if there, and all you can see is in the history tab. So you can always come here and you can see all the history. If you want to see that what kind of changes has been done on the ticket, you can always use the history tab. And in comments tab right now, there is nothing, but if there is any important information, anyone who has been working on that ticket or linked to that ticket wants to add a comment, then they can add a comment, and there can be like a generic comment. I will just add like this, let's say generic comment, right? So anyone who is assigned or the reporter will get the notification. But let's say that there is someone else who is neither the reporter, not in the watch list, and not the assignee, but still you want to tag that person so that person get the notification as well. Like for example, in this one, we can say Chris. So what we will do, we will add an add person, and then we can choose the name, and then we can say comment for you, whatever the comment is. Now what will happen, because we have tagged Chris, so Chris will also get a notification. So yeah, these are the few things which are quite useful in JIRA. All right, let's come back to our ticket. So we have our ticket over here. This is our user story. It's already in test, which means that it has been deployed. And now we can go through our test cases. Okay, so there was one test case which we created last week together, and there are two more which I just added so that we can try executing all of them today. Okay, so now test execution is the part where actually we validate that whatever has been developed is working as expected. And what is as expected? This means that as per the requirements. So this is the validation for which we have been working out so far. Like we did the test planning, then we did test designing, we made sure that the test environment is there, the test data is there, and all this was done for this validation part, because now is the time where we are validating that yes, whatever has been developed, is it working as expected? Is it okay to let it go to the next stage, or no? Do we need to change anything? Do we need to improve anything? Okay, so we will start with the first one. Okay, so now this is the test case which we wrote last week, and it says user should be able to calculate parking cost for 1 day. Okay, before I start test execution, there is one thing which I wanted to discuss regarding test cases. And for that, what I have to do is I have to open all the test cases which I have written so far. Okay, now one common thing over here you will see the title for this one. So this is PAC 16, and the title is user should be able to calculate parking cost for 1 day. Then coming to the next one, this is PAC 21 with the same title. Coming to PAC 22, again the same title. So we have different tests, but we have the same title. And why is that? Because it might be that we have the same scenario which we want to test, which is the case in this case. That's the reality, but the difference is the test data. So it's the same process, same steps. All what we are doing in these three scenarios are that we are testing for different test data. So we are giving different test data as input to see that what are the actual results. But the confusion over here is that the title is the same. So in this case, if you come up with these kind of scenarios, then what you can do, that you can elaborate the title a little bit, because when you see the title at once, then all these three seems to be the same. So let's see that what's different in all these three. Okay, so over here, the test data says that enter time and the leaving date and time, and the parking cost should be as 18. Fine. Let's see this one. 21 says that we have given an entry date and time. Okay, and then we have given a leaving date and time, and leaving date and time is before. So this is a negative scenario. So this means, this shows that there should be an error shown. So what we can do is, so there are different ways to do this. This is one way, because now we are using JIRA, and one way is that we can edit it a little bit, like user should be able to calculate parking cost for 1 day where leaving date is before entry date, right? So this is one scenario. So what we are doing is, now when we will be having a list of test cases, all the titles would not be the same. Same is over here. Let's see what we are doing here in the test data. Okay, so error should be shown as, okay, let me do it, yeah, as entry and leaving date is in the past. Okay, so this is something which is in the past. All right, so we can edit as user should be able to calculate parking cost for 1 day where entry and leaving dates are in past, right? Okay, so now we will have all the titles different. This is one way. The other way is that, let's say if you are using any other test management tool, in few test management tools, there is the facility where you can add the parameters. Like for example, over here, instead of specifying the date over here, you can specify date and time as a parameter, and then you can have a list of inputs somewhere else, maybe in the Excel sheet, or maybe somewhere else in the specified in the tool as well. Okay, so I'm sure that when it comes to automation testing, Zephyr definitely it does support the parameter things, because it does work perfectly fine for automation, that when we are using the one scenario, one test case, and we are using different inputs, then we can use parameters. So I have used Zephyr for that, so I'm sure about that. For manual testing, I couldn't find any such thing, so it might be that I have missed it, but there are some other tools which I definitely know that in manual testing as well, you can specify parameters, and you can just use the same scenario with different iterations, and you can just add different inputs. So it depends like what kind of tool you are using, what kind of testing you are doing. So in this case, we have specified it like this, and I would suggest doing the same if you are using a spreadsheet as well, because otherwise what will happen that in the spreadsheet, let's say if you have written only one test case, and then you have said, okay, that repeat this test case for multiple test data. The issue with having only one test case would be that maybe if there are like 5 sets of inputs, then maybe it's working for 6 and not working for 4, then it will be another confusion that whether you mark that test case as failed or passed. So it's better to have like individual test cases, so that we are very, very sure that if even this test is same, the data is different, then in which scenarios the test were passed, and in which scenarios the test was failed. Okay, so I hope that this part is clear. Moving on to our execution part. So we come here, and now what we have to do, we have to execute it. Right, so if you see over here, these three links, these are for Zephyr. So this icon, wherever you see this icon in JIRA, this is a Zephyr icon. Like over here, you see Zephyr. Then these are Zephyr actions, test details, which we did last week, and test execution. Okay, so first of all, when the first time when you open the test case, maybe you are not able to see this Zephyr actions. So in that case, don't worry. All you have to do is you have to just click this Zephyr actions. For this one, I already did it. So that's why it's showing Zephyr actions. Okay, now let's see that what options we are getting over here. So we are getting 2 options. One is execute, and the other one is add to test cycles. Okay, so add to test cycles, what does that mean? So when we are running a test case, we are running it, we might have to run it multiple times, and that's why we specify different cycles. And why we have to run it multiple times, I will show you in a while as well, but just to give you an overview first, that let's say that this scenario, this test case, we are executing it, and we have test cycle 1. So everything goes fine and everything is working as expected. So we mark this test case as passed. So this means that we mark this as passed, and we can go ahead and execute another test case. Perfectly fine. But there can be another scenario where while we execute it, something, maybe one step is not as expected. So we can mark it as failed, and that would be test cycle 1. So this is failed, but of course we need to get that fixed as well. So what will happen, we can move to the other test cases while this would be still opened, and this will be fixed by the developer. And then when developer give us a fix back, so we have to retest it. And when we will retest it, then again we will execute this test case, but then it will be another test cycle. So it will be test cycle 2. It will also be shown in the execution, which I will show in a while. The reason of doing that is that at the end, when you are doing reporting, you get to know that how many test cycles you had to execute. Because whenever you are retesting something, of course, you are spending more time on it. It also shows the quality of the code of the build which was given to you. Because if everything was working as expected and you were able to pass that test case, it means that the delivered code, the delivered build was of high quality. It was already been tested. It was working fine. As per the requirements, there were no issue with the requirements as well. So it shows that the team is working really, really well. If there are multiple cycles, and let's say that you get to pass a test case after 3 or 4 cycles, it means that there is either any communication gap in the team, or maybe there is some other issue which you need to identify, because it's wasting everyone's time that you have to execute the same test case, then it goes to the developer, then the developer has to try to fix that as well. That consumes time as well. And maybe if there are any changes required in the requirements, then of course it involves BA as well, at some point maybe product owner as well, if the requirement again need to be clarified or to be discussed, which means that it's preventing the team to continue working with some other new features. So it's consuming everyone's time. So that's why it's good to have a list of the test cycles as well, that how many test cycles it took for one test case to be passed. There can be other uses as well to differentiate, like maybe how many cycles like you did in a sprint. So there can be different ways you can use this this thing for. Right, okay, so before I can move to this one, I wanted to show you one more thing. Okay, so over here, okay, so this is our application. All right, so this is our application against which we will be executing it. So before we start executing, so this is our first test case of this project. So this is the first time we are testing this development, our first build. So before we carry on with our test cases, in this scenario, we always do smoke testing first. So what is smoke testing? So smoke testing is where before you start executing your planned test, you do some basic, like most important functional testing, just to make sure that the build is fine. So this is basically to verify the build, that the build is deployed fine on test environment and there is no issue with the data, etc. as well. I can give you an example. Before running our test cases, what we will do, we will come to this application which we are supposed to test. So this is our deployed version. So first of all, I'm able to see this application. So of course, that's a one big check, which is passed, because sometimes maybe that you go to the test URL and you're not even able to see the application. Maybe you are seeing an error over there. This means that you can't continue with your planned test, so which means smoke test has failed. And it might be that the deployment, there was some issue with the build deployment. It might be that there is any configuration issue, so you can always go back and you can tell the developers that, okay, there is some issue. They will have a look and they will give you a new build. And then you can again start with smoke testing. First of all, of course, you need to access the application. And in this case, now let's say that you are able to access the application. So that you will just have a quick look over here that everything looks fine, only look fine. Of course, you can't do a lot. You will do detailed testing as per the plan, but maybe few things. Maybe over here you can see that, oh, nothing is appearing in the drop down. So this means that, okay, now maybe the build is fine, but maybe the DB changes. So these drop down items, maybe these are coming from database, and maybe the DB changes were not updated. They were not made to test database. So maybe these drop down are blank over here. So that would be another another check for smoke testing. So these kind of test and these kind of key things you need to check first, and they all come under smoke testing. And once everything apparently looks fine, it means that you get a go ahead for your further testing. So now once the smoke testing is passed, then you can go ahead and you can start your planned testing. For smoke testing, there are different ways to carry out that. One way is just like I did, that I just ad hocly, I did some key checks which are more important, which are more crucial in order to start my further testing. One way is this. Secondly, you can have like maybe 1, 2, or 3 tests, 3 like most important test. You can have it as part of your smoke testing suite as well, which you have to run every time. Let's say you are starting something new. So this is smoke testing, and in this case, it looks that everything is fine so far. So we can go ahead and we can carry out the execution of our planned test. Okay, so this is our test. So first of all, let's say that we want to add it to a test cycle. So we can add to a test cycle by doing this. So over here, we can select version if we have a version. So yeah, we have a version 1.0 and cycle summary. Okay, so we can have a cycle summary, maybe ad hoc. Ad hoc comes by default. Like if you don't have different cycles, then you can use the ad hoc cycle by default. Over here, let's say that I am using test cycle 1. By the way, test cycle 1 and test cycle 2, it doesn't come default. I have added these test cycles, which you can go in the Zephyr settings and you can customize it. You can add the cycles as per your requirements. So I will select it as test cycle 1 because this is the first time we will be executing it. If there is a test folder, it's fine. In this case, we didn't needed one, so it's okay. And then what we will do, we will just press add. So now this has been assigned to the test cycle 1. Now is the time to execute it. So we will press execute. Again, we have two options, that either we execute ad hoc, which means that we are not assigning it to any specific test cycle. But in this case, because we have already added it to a test cycle, so what we will do, we will select the second option. Again, the version, the test cycle. Okay, assign to is like if you want to assign it to someone, because there might be, let's say, multiple testers in a team. In this case, we have only Sabha. So yeah, it's already, the ticket is already assigned to her. So we don't need this. We will just press execute. Okay, so now you can see that we are on the execution page. So over here, it's showing us the test steps. In the beginning over here, it's also showing us some execution status, which we can't do right now. Of course, first of all, we have to execute each and every step of this. Okay, so first of all, it says, go to this URL. User should be able to see the parking cost application. All right, so we went to this URL and we were able to see that application. So what we will do, we will come here and we will mark it as pass. So you can see there are different statuses over here and we can choose either of them. So so in this case it was pass, so we will select pass. Okay, so this first step all done. Second one, choose parking lot. We have to choose valet parking. And what are we expecting? User should be able to select valet parking option from the drop down. Okay, so we'll come here. We are seeing valet parking and we can choose that. So the second one is passed as well. The third one is enter entry date and time. And entry date and time is 19/7. Okay, so actually we have to update this. I don't know if we can update it over here because, okay, let's see that what happens, because we created it last week and at that time the date was fine, but now of course it's the past date. So let's see, that would be another check now. Right, so we'll go here and we will select 19. And what was the time? The time was 12 p.m. 12 p.m. All right. And the leaving date is 19/7 as well, but it's 10 p.m. Okay, let's see what happens. So over here, what's happening is that the date is same, but have you seen the time, that the leaving time is before that? Okay, so now what was happening over here? It's calculating Oh, so it's given us 12 p.m. and it's given us 10 p.m. as 22, which is actually right because it was 10 p.m. So it's $18, which is okay. So over here it shows the parking cost should be shown as $18, but over here actually we should have updated the test case. What we can do it right away. I will just exit this. I'm sorry about that. I should have done it earlier because this one I wanted to show as like a positive scenario. So we can go here and we can update that. So the cloud version, sometimes it does take time as per your internet speed. If you are using the server version, then usually it's quite fast. Okay, I will just update it too. Have you seen that it's showing here the test cycle one already because we started execution on this one. So what I will do that now again, I will go and I will press execute. And it was showing unexecuted because we didn't complete the execution. I just exited in the middle of it. Okay, so as you can see that now it has updated. Okay, so I will mark it as passed because I was able to select that and I was able to do that as well. There was one error over there which I will show you later, but let's first go to this scenario. So parking cost should be shown as 18 and it is showing us 18, which is fine. It's showing us 10 hours. So it's like per day. So what we can do, we can mark it as pass. So the moment we mark it, all the steps as pass, it asks us, all steps are updated to pass. Do you also want to update the current test status to pass? Over here, it's asking the status of that test case, that all the steps have been passed, which means that now we can mark it as and the test case has passed as well. So there are two ways. One way is I say that yes, it's fine. And you can see that it has marked as pass. The other way is that I ignore that and then I come here and then I manually do it as pass, right? So we can do that as well. And over here, then again, if you want to assign it to someone else, we can do that. If you want to comment over here, we can add a comment. There was no defect, so that's why we will not add a defect over here. For the other scenarios where there will be defect, I will show you as well. Okay, so now there can be two ways. Usually in defect, I always encourage that, yes, you need to specify any kind of attachments as well. But I would say that it's a good practice that even for the part scenarios as well, if you can add, add a screenshot, which we can over here. So all you have to do is that you can use the snipping tool, which is already part of Windows, and you can use that. And then, like, for example, let's just show you. So make sure that what you want to do is clear over there. And then I will just save it and then I will show you. Okay, as you can see that now we have an attachment over here. So it's always good to capture the screenshots for successful scenarios as well. And why it is important, that maybe in some instances it does happen, and those of you who are already working in testing, you must be definitely aware of this, that there are scenarios where like sometimes it works for you, it doesn't work on someone else's machine, it doesn't work on the environment later on, and there is no apparent reason for that, and like we have to dig back that, okay, why it's not working. It can be a configuration thing as well. So it's better to have the screenshots of everything which is working and which is not working. Okay, so yeah, so this one is now passed, so we can go back to this one, update it. And we can see here at the end that we have this test cycle 1, which is passed. So it is giving us all the details, who executed it, when it was executed. So it was, all these details are over here. So this is how you execute a test case in JIRA using Zephyr. So this is this is one of it. Let's go ahead and execute the second test case. If there are any questions, then yeah, please do let me know. So this is the second test case, and okay, let's go down and see what we are doing over here. Okay, so again, what we have to do, we have to add this to the test cycle. Okay, so now over here you can see we can't see those buttons of execute and test cycles. This is because this is the first time. For that one, I already added that. For this one, what you have to do is just press this Zephyr actions. Okay, for some reason it's not doing it. Okay, it is. Yeah, I just had to refresh it. Okay, so I will add this to the test cycle as well as we did for the earlier one, because these all test cases are part of version 1, test cycle 1. Done. Now we will execute this. Okay, now similar over here. So we will go to our test steps. Again, we will go to this one, and the first one is the same. We know that we were able to open this, open the application. So we will just go ahead and mark it as passed. Then the next one is choose parking lot valet parking. Okay, fine. Yes, this was working as fine as well. So we know we will do it pass. Okay, now over here, we have to enter the date and time, 27th of 7. Let's do that. Right. And time is 1 p.m. Okay. Okay, so then the leaving date and time is 21st of 7. And time is 4 p.m. Okay, and what are we expecting over here? Error should be shown as leaving date is before entry date. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we were able to enter this time and leaving time as well. So we will pass this one. Okay, so now we will calculate. So it is showing an error. Your leaving date or time is before your starting date or time, which means that we are checking a negative scenario. Now, this is what we spoke about the boundary value analysis last week, that this is a good example that this is falling outside the boundary. So we have tested this scenario, and the result is as expected, that it should be giving an error. So we'll go back here and we will mark it as passed. Again, all the steps were passed, so we will just mark the test case as passed as well. Right, so now let's go back and have a look at our user story, because these test cases are linked to that user story. So we have all the over here, and then this test case, sorry, this is not the one, it was 21. So you can see this one is also passed, and it's showing all the execution details as well. And over here, if you can notice that there is another tab added with the history, which is test detail history, that it gives all the details over here. Whatever details, whatever things were updated, it will come in the test detail history. So I hope that so far there is no issue, everything is clear. Okay, now then let's go to our third test case. Okay, our third test case is user should be able to calculate parking costs for 1 day where entry and leaving dates are in past. Okay, coming down to the test steps. So first of all, again, we have to press test execution to show, so that we can see the test execution over here, and also the test actions as well. And last time we saw that we had to refresh. Okay, so again, we will add this to the version and to our test cycle 1. This is done, and now we will execute it. Again, we will select the test cycle and version. Okay, so we will leave this part as of now, and this one we can mark at pass because we know that this is working. Choose parking lot, yes. Enter entry date and time, 7/7. And this is the old one. I will just close this. Okay, it's 1 p.m. And just right, and it's 7/7, 4 p.m. So we'll mark it as pass. So when we calculate, what should we expect? The error should be shown as entry and leaving date is in past. Okay, so this is something which maybe was discussed as per the requirements. There can be another thing which maybe could have suggested as an improvement, that instead of coming to this state, at the point where we were selecting a date in the past, right over there, there should have been an error showing us that, oh, you can't select a date in the past. So this could have been done as well. Maybe for now, we will test this scenario and see that how it works, and maybe later on as an improvement we can mark that, okay, we for now, okay, the functionality is working fine, it's not letting us calculate a date in the past, but to improve it much better, we can make this change that right at the third step we can say that, oh, you are not allowed to select a date, an entry date which is in past. So if we calculate, so we are not getting an error, we are actually getting our calculated parking cost, which is not right. So what we will do, we will go here and we will mark it as fail, right? Okay, so now we have marked it as failed, which means that something is not working as expected. So the test case has failed, but now we have to log a defect as well. We need to notify the developer who has worked on it. In this case, it was Sophie, that this is not working as expected, and you need to have a look at it. So there are two ways we can go outside of this execution window, and we can create a bug from here. So we can create and we can just create a bug and then link it to this test case. Or the other way is that if we come here and I will say create. So see over here, if the defect is already created separately, we can just add a defect over here, like we can add the number over here. If it's not, then we can create a defect right from here as well. And this will come under our defect management. So what we are doing, we have to make sure that its issue type is bug, which is by default, it's already there because we're creating a defect. Okay, so now in summary, we have to provide a title which actually shows that what's going on. User is able to calculate parking cost for a date in past. So user is able to calculate parking cost for a date in past. So this is a title, a brief title, which actually shows that what actually happened. Okay, now in description, now this is where we need to give as many details as we can, because when we are assigning it to a developer to have a look, the developer should be able to go through the ticket and should be able to replicate that. It shouldn't be ambiguous, because then what will happen, that then the developer needs to come to you and ask that, okay, I didn't understand this, that how did you created this bug? How did you found this bug? I'm not able to replicate this. So it's always ideal that the details in the bug, they are as detailed, as clear, that anyone who is following those steps should be able to reproduce that bug. Okay, so few things which we can add, maybe environment, that yes, which environment were you testing it? We were testing it in a test environment. Okay, and maybe browser, because sometimes maybe, like, let's say that we report this bug and the developer is using any other browser and they say, oh, it's working fine for me. So maybe it comes down to a browser, and then like it's only one specific browser for which it's not working. So let's say Chrome, and you can mention the version as well over here. Okay, so environment and then browser, and then maybe you can write steps to reproduce. So any detail which you want to add in the bug, it's better. Steps to reproduce, we can say go to the application. You can copy it from here. Okay, go to the application at this, then choose valet parking from parking lot drop down, and then what we did, enter entry date and time as, so what we did, it was 7/7/20 and it was 1 p.m. So we have to give all the details. Enter leaving date and time as 07/07/2020 and the time was 4 p.m. Right. Then click calculate button. Right, so first we will write what are the expected results. So you can write expected results. Sometimes it's also known as ER, like just to save time, you can just write ER as well. Okay, so what's the expected result? The expected result is that error should be shown that parking cost can't be calculated for a date in past. Okay, so this is an expected result, which I'm just adding an error message, but sometimes the error messages need to be specific as well, because this also comes from the product owner as part of requirements, that what exactly the error message should say. So these are the things as well which needs to be identified prior in the requirements, that what should be the exact error messages. And then even if the error message is incorrect, the functionality is fine, but the error message is not right as in the requirements, then you can again log a defect, but that would be of a low severity because the functionality is fine. So it's more of like a cosmetic issue. Okay, now comes the actual result. User is able to calculate cost for a previous date, which is incorrect. All right, okay. So we have given all the details over here. Coming to the severity. Now, there are different severities. You can define your own. It doesn't need to be exactly this, and it doesn't come by default in Zephyr. These are the ones which I added. So by default, there was no field of severity as well for a bug. So this is to show you that we can add custom fields as well in Zephyr. So this is the field which I added myself, because when we are adding reporting a defect, we need to specify its severity as well, that how severe that bug is. So remember that we in the foundation certification training, we went through the probability and the impact. So based on that, we need to come up with a risk, that what will be the severity of that. Okay, so blocker is that, let's say that if we are not even able to go through the application, that would be a blocker. Or maybe you're not able to do the first step or second step, and you're not able to carry on your further test, then it is a blocker. It's critical if it's like very, very critical, that like entire one module is not working. So that would be critical. For this one, yes, there were a few scenarios which we were able to mark as pass, but this scenario is not critical or a blocker, but this is important and we don't want to let it go to production. So this kind of bug will be high, right? That we definitely want this bug to be resolved before we push this build to life. Okay, over another thing, assigning. So now, right now the tester is testing it, but we need to assign it to the developer who has developed it. So it was Sophie, so we will assign it back to Sophie. So these are the important things which we have to do. So we will create a bug. So a bug is created, fine. So now what we will do, we will come back to our user story. It was this one, back 22. Oh, sorry, we missed one thing. We marked it as failed. We marked it as that we attached the defect over there. Okay, with the defect, I'm not attaching now the all the attachments because I showed you for the first one, and this is what you need to do like for all of them as well. So we will be attaching as well. And at the end, what we forgot to do was to mark this as failed. Right, we'll mark it as failed, and from defects as well, we can select this bug which we just created, right? So this is now done, and if we update this, so now you can see that this test case in the linked issues, earlier it was linked only to this user story. Now this is also linked to this bug as well. So whenever we will see this ticket, we can see that if there is a linked bug which is not resolved, plus when we will come here, we will see that this test case was failed, which means that once it's fixed, then we have to retest it. Okay, so now what will happen that we have assigned it to Sophie. She will find out that what was the issue. She will fix it, and then we will get another build for testing. And when we will get another build and it's again in test, then we can add this to another test cycle now, because the first time it didn't pass. So we will have another test cycle, and we will do the execution again. But this time the test cycle will be 2. So I know the bug is over there, but just for the sake of showing you the execution history, this time we will mark it as passed. So what we will do, we will mark all of these as passed. Right. So this is passed as well. We will go back to the test case. And now see, this is the execution history now. So we can see that when we executed it for the first time in test cycle 1, it was failed. And then we had to execute it again as part of test cycle 2, and then it was passed. And over here, we can also see all the execution history as well, the date, time, etc. as well. So as many test cycles it needs, at the end, we have to mark it as passed because we can't let this bug just go to production as it is. So this is quite, it comes quite handy because you can see all the things at one page. In one page, you can see everything, the test details, how many times it was executed, was it passed, was it failed, all the details we can see it over here. So this is all about the test execution and the defect management as well. Okay, so apart from that, if you have any question for the execution or defect management, then let me know. Otherwise, there are just a couple of more things which I want to show in JIRA. So I'll go ahead with that. But if you have any question, please ask. Okay, so I believe everything is clear so far. So okay, there is a, okay, all good. All right, thanks, Denmark. Okay, so just wanted to give you a quick overview of this as well, Zephyr. So we have seen few functionalities already, but just wanted to give you an overview of this over here as well, that when we are creating a test, we can create a test from here. We can So see, we can create a test case from here, or we can create a test case from here as well. Then again, we can search a test, then we can import test. Okay, now this is, let's see what it shows. So let's say that you are writing your test cases in Excel spreadsheet, and then your company decided to move on and start using Zephyr. So there, I'm sure there would be few earlier test cases which you had for this one. So what you can do, that you can then just select your Excel file and you can import those tests as well. So this will be for your transition period, that where you had some of the, let's say you are in the middle of the project, and that's where you moved to Zephyr. So you have few test cases which were which were in your Excel sheet, so you can always import the test as well. And then from that point onward, you can continue using Zephyr. Okay, I can see there was a question. Okay, Ananya has asked how to know defect has been raised. Okay, so Ananya, now how we can see that the defect has been raised is, first of all, that when we raise the defect, we assigned it to a developer. So when you work in a team, these kind of workflows are already being identified and agreed within the team, that as a tester, I can always ask that, okay, whenever I find a bug, whom should I assign it to? And maybe the team says, okay, assign it to the developer. Or maybe the team says that, no, assign it to BA, or the BA will first see that if it's a false bug or it's a real bug, and then BA will review it first and then assign to a developer. So this is what you need to identify first as a team, that what we have to whom we have to assign it to. So whenever you are assign it to someone, they will get a notification, they will get an email as well. And in JIRA as well, because it's assigned to them, they can see the issues which are assigned to them and they can start working on it. And we can also search it as like bugs as well. I will show it to you later as well. So we can also go to the test case, which I just showed you. We can come down and we can see that it failed and it had a link to the bug as well. So from there as well, even if it was not assigned to anyone who wants to see that if there were any bugs for this test case, they can see, they can click to that, and it will navigate them to the bugs. Okay, so now the next one is planning and execution cycle summary. So over here, we will not go to the unscheduled, we will go to version 1 because that's what we did right now. So over here, we can see that we had 2 test cycles. The first one, it's partially passed and a bit of failed as well. See, 33% failed and 67% pass. Test cycle 2 was 100% pass, right? So we have only one test case over here. So it shows us over the entire history over here as well. So Ananya, this is another way to see that which test cases were failed and what were the issues. So these are the test cases. These are their statuses. And because this was failed, so we have the defect linked over here as well. Right, so we can, because this view is useful where we don't want to go individually and check all the test cases. We just want to see that now this is the version maybe we are planning to release after after our sprint ends. So all we want to see is that, okay, we just want a view of the entire version, that okay, is everything passed here? Are we ready to go to live, or is if it's still failing or not? So this is a quite useful view. Same, you can search test execution, you can manage test execution filters as well. And then it comes to the reporting thing. So reporting, we will do more in detail in next week, but I can show you a little bit over here. So this is the test summary, which we have done so far. And this is what we can share with everyone. So we have total test 5, 1 was unexecuted, 4 were executed, and over here the test can be by labels. So it depends that how you want to use the labels, how you want to, maybe they are different. Maybe you can use labels for environments, maybe you can use labels for sub functionality within a big category, or you can have different components as well. For us, for these tests, you can see that we didn't specify any component or we didn't specify any label, but we did it for version, against version. So we have the details for version. Okay, so we will focus on version 1.0, which was what we did today. The unscheduled one is what I did for testing purposes, just to see that how it executes. So we will focus on this one. So this is what it shows as reporting as well. So this is another view. It showed that when we executed, and it also gave us an overview over here as well, that okay, they were these test cycles, and that's how we did it. Who did it? Right now, of course, I'm logged in with my user, so it's showing only me. Maybe there are 2 of them. Then they can be shown execution by date, execution list, all the details over here. So it's showing ad hoc as well, because as I said that earlier, for testing purposes, I also did some ad hoc test as well. So it's showing all of us over here. So this is a very, very useful view, because we can like, now this is part of JIRA, and JIRA is not only used by developer or tester, it's used by like everyone in the team. So it's like widely used among the non-IT users as well. So anyone who wants to have an access, they can have a look over here. Okay, over here it was showing us ad hoc because it was selected all versions over here. If you want to see it only for our specific version, we can use this. And then I think it's be auto refresh. See, now ad hoc is gone. Ad hoc is gone. It's only showing what we want to see. And then of course you also can see that if you just want to see that in last 24 hours how many were executed, so you can select last 24 hours from here as well. So you can have different views from here depending what you want to see. And let's see what is in traceability matrix. Okay, so traceability matrix, which we learned and we emphasized a lot in foundation certification, that this is really, really important in terms of our coverage. So as you can see, we have the list of all the requirements, epics, etc. and then we have associated tests. So over here, it's showing us the bugs as well, how many executions were done. So this is very good in terms of our traceability, because if there is anything which is not working as expected, or there was a requirement which was not covered, we didn't wrote our test cases against it, or we didn't execute it, so we can always go back and then we can update it, and it can it give us a view that yes, everything is covered, right? So yeah, so I hope that this has given you a nice view. If we go down, this is more for like automation. And of course, right now we are not doing it as part of this project, but yes, we can use Zephyr for automation as well. And then there are some settings of Zephyr custom fields, like if you want to add custom fields, like as I told you that I added that custom field of severity for our bug issue type. So by default, actually it was the bug was also not there, so I added that field, and plus I also added the severity as well. So if you are using Zephyr trial version as well, then you can add these custom fields and you can play around and see that how it works. So I hope you have gone a specific you have got a specific idea of it. Okay, I've got another question from Denmark. Is there a format when importing test from Excel file? Okay, so no, Denmark, it depends. There's no format. It needs to be an Excel file. And then when you will import it, then you can map the fields. So they can be a mapping there. Again, then you can customize it. Then you can map that what were the fields in your Excel file. And then let's say there was a test case ID, so it will auto populate that. And then if there was status, so you can map that the status over there is the same as the status in Zephyr. So you can do that. Okay, one more thing which I forgot to show you, which I can do now. This is the bug which we reported, right? So in JIRA, we can also specify a workflow for all the different issue types. For now, you can see the workflow is just showing to do, in progress, in test done, because this is by default which we are given for all kind of issue types. Right now the issue type is bug, so we can customize. I haven't customized it, but we can customize the workflow for this one. Like for example, maybe we want that when we report a bug, the bug by default it's new, then we can specify transitions. So we can specify transitions, and that which transition will lead it to the next status, because then it can go into open, and then when we mark it as failed, then we can mark it as like reopen, so that we know that this is a second time like we are reopening it again. And then let's say that if there are two testers in a project and both have reported the same bug, then we can close one and we can mark it as duplicate, or maybe if it was not a valid bug, then we can mark it as rejected. So we can have all those statuses with defined transitions as well. And this is all what we can do in JIRA. So we can customize a workflow as per our requirement for any issue type. So not only for bug, because of course when we are reporting a bug, there is a specific workflow which needs to be there. So just to let you know that by default it's not there. By default this is what we see, but we can always customize the entire workflow as per our requirements. Okay, so this is one thing. And the last thing which I want to show you is that the attachments which I told you that we should be attaching the screenshots. So the one way is that we use the snipping tool and we just capture the screenshot and we attach it. We can do that. Sometimes there are few scenarios which are quite difficult to reproduce. Like we have given all the steps, but still it's a very complicated one. And maybe it would be easier for the developer if we provide them a video of that. So instead of like following the steps manually from reading it, maybe what you can do is that you can capture a video, and it's easier for developer or someone else who is going through it, that okay, first we did this, then we did this, and oh yeah, so over here we are getting this error. So it's easier for them for those kind of complex scenarios. Okay, so we can do that as well. And there are different ways you can use any capturing video tool if you already have. Snipping tool is only for capturing screenshots. For example, there is a Chrome extension known as Screencastify. You can use that extension, and you can record the video as well. So whatever is your current screen, so it will come on the top over here as one of your extension. So you can use that and capture and attach the video. Or it doesn't have to be Screencastify, it can be any other tool which enables you to record the video. Right. And or you can do one more thing. This is another tool which I want to show you. This is also Zephyr capture for JIRA. So this is a separate one. This doesn't come with when you download the trial version of Zephyr, because this is a totally separate plugin. So basically this is a kind of Chrome extension. It adds to your Chrome extension, and it is specifically for Zephyr and JIRA, and I can show you that what it does. This comes very, very handy, because let's say that you are testing this and you found a bug. What you have to do is you have to open a JIRA instance again, and you have to create a bug over there. You have to take the screenshot or capture the video, and then you have to attach it to that bug. So okay, this is what you do. If we are having an extension capture for JIRA, then what we can do while we are on the screen and we have that extension over here, we press that extension and it shows us, okay, I'm not doing this. It will, so let's say this is the screen which you are testing. So it will open this sidebar over there, and this one is already connected to your JIRA account. So yeah, like you can always you can add your username, your JIRA instance URL, etc. So it's already connected to your JIRA instance. So while you are in that screen, you can create a bug from here. So you don't have to go to JIRA. You can create it right from here, and you can capture the screen, and you can add like different your comments over here. That okay, let's remove the shadow effect. Um, add a border to the button, like over here. Okay, over here it says logo needs a bit more transparency to it. So you can just add all the comments over here, and you can also capture video over here as well. So you can add everything, the description, the steps, and then you can create. You can press create, and what it will do, it will create a bug for you in JIRA without you're going to the JIRA instance. So this is quite handy as well, because it saves a lot of time and it gives quite elaborative annotations in terms of capturing as well of your screenshot and also the video. So this is something which I have used previously, and I have found it very useful. But this is like this is not a mandatory thing. It's a nice to have thing, because if you are purchasing a license for Zephyr, this one is different. So you have to pay on top of it. So you have to get another license for this as well. So this is like an extra cost, but of course the benefits are there. So you can evaluate that if it's handy for you, then yeah, this is an option as well, which comes with Zephyr. All right, so if there are any questions, please let me know. All right, no question. Just looking if there is anything. Okay, no question, right. All right, so what I will encourage you to do is to play around with this application, find more bugs. And by the way, thank you to all of you who actually sent me your test cases. And I went through all of them and I've come back to you as well. So that was really good because you really put an effort to write the test cases. And the ones you have written the test cases already, please go ahead and do the execution now and send me your execution reports as well. The ones who haven't written the test cases, it's fine, you can do it now as well, or you can write different scenarios, high level scenarios, and just try the execution over here. Play around with this one, and I'm sure you will find many bugs as well. We have just reported one, and we have just checked a couple of scenarios. There's a lot to test for this application. So play around, because this will give you an insight of how you will be testing a real-time project. You can send me your execution reports, and you can just send me an Excel report, Excel sheet, because that's what most of you have given me your test cases in, which is perfectly fine. If you want to download Zephyr, of course, you can do that as well. And even this capture for JIRA as well, it has a trial version as well for cloud, so you can do that as well. So that was all from my side for today's session. If you have any question, you can always ask me in the group. If you are not in the group, then we have a Facebook group known as mytestingorbit. You can always come and join us over there. After this session, I will upload this session to the YouTube channel, again with the name of My Testing Orbit. So you can always come back and you can see the video over here as well. All right, so yeah, there is no more question from your side. So I will end the session over here. So I hope that you have a lovely rest of the weekend, and I will see you in the next session then. Take care. Bye.